A Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake, a movie that really frustrates me. Hey there guys, my name's Craig and welcome back to another horror movie review. In this video I am going to be taking a look at the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street remake, but before I do get started, if this is your first time here, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button for all future updates. Okay, when I first heard that they were remaking A Nightmare on Elm Street, I was very excited. I am a massive fan of A Nightmare on Elm Street movies and I was waiting for another Freddy film. Even if Robert Englund wasn't returning, I was very intrigued on how good or bad the new Freddy was gonna be. Robert Englund is getting on a bit now, and playing a character like Freddy would be so exhausting, so it was inevitable that they would need a new Freddy if they were gonna remake the series. Now Jackie Earle Haley, I think he does a great job as Freddy. I didn't find him as menacing as the Robert Englund version, but he did do a good job. The makeup that they used on him though was an epic fail for me. Way too much CGI was used on his face in certain parts of the movie, and they tried to make this version of Freddy look more like a real-life Burns victim. It just doesn't work. Why try and fix something that's not broken? That is just always number one rule. Sticking with the use of CGI, I could not stand how much CGI that they used in this movie. I'll give you an example. The scene where Freddy comes through Nancy's bedroom wall was absolute garbage compared to the original. It literally felt like that I was watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and unfortunately a lot more CGI was used throughout the rest of this movie, and to me that's just another big mistake, and it's also quite lazy. What happened to good old-fashioned creations? Credit where credit's due, some of the cinematography used, especially during some of the nightmare scenes, were pretty outstanding. Now I really wasn't a fan of them recreating nightmare scenes from the original. It just didn't work in this movie. For example, Nancy, she's in the bathtub and Freddy's glove appears between her legs, just like the original. Now if they did have to redo this scene, then they could have at least made it better or more scary or put their own twist on it. Nancy in this movie didn't even get pulled into the bathtub. It was just a waste of time. There were just so many missed opportunities. If they must recreate a nightmare or death scene, at least make it better. When Chris is killed in the same way that Tina is killed from Nightmare 1, I was extremely underwhelmed. It just looks stupid. In Nightmare 1, Tina is slowly dragged around the bedroom while slices appear all over her body and she's screaming. But Chris, in this one, she's thrown around, around the bedroom super fast with no suspense, no screams, ending with one big slice, and that was it. It was more comical than scary. Another thing that I hated with the movie was the amount of pointless jump scares. They really relied on jump scares to try and make you scared in this movie, and it just didn't work. There would be these long drawn out nightmares where nothing would be happening, and then Freddy's head would just pop up and then the nightmare would be over. Like, really? This version of Nancy was also a complete fail. She was boring, she talked extremely quiet, and I found her extremely uninteresting. I was reading that Rooney Mara, who played Nancy in this movie, didn't really have it in her heart, so do you know what, guys? You can flip and well tell as well. She literally looks like she does not want to be in this movie from start to finish. If you're gonna recast a legend like Nancy, at least get that one right. I did like the opening scene where Dean is having a nightmare at the cafe and then he falls asleep and then Freddy pops up in the nightmare trying to slice open Dean's throat, but then in the real world, Chris is there wondering what the hell is going on, and Dean is holding a kitchen knife and it's made to look like that Dean has just sliced his own throat open. I thought it was a great opening scene and I was actually excited when I first saw this very moment, but then unfortunately it did go all downhill from then on in. We did get to see the moment where the parents of Springwood, they hunt down Freddy and they burn him alive, which we know it was pretty cool. But let's face it, we've seen it all before. but there really wasn't anything much different apart from maybe the effects looked better. I didn't like the use of child molestation that was used. I mean, in the original Nightmare movies, Freddy was a child killer, which is just as bad, don't get me wrong, but the original does seem to stray away from the child molestation for the most part, or at least it is died down quite a lot. In this movie, it's in your face. There's even a scene where Quentin, he finds photos of Nancy in Freddy's secret cave room thing. And even though we don't see the photos, it's quite obvious what it is. And it was just way too much. I didn't think it was needed. Also, when like Nancy, Chris, Jesse, and Dean, you know, all of them, when they were all young kids, apparently, you know, they're all being abused by Freddy before Freddy, you know, was burnt by the family members. How on earth did they not remember any of it? They weren't that young in the flashback scenes. They were certainly at an age of where they would remember something like that happening, and they would definitely at least remember that they all went to the same preschool together. It seemed a little bit dumb, this part of the storyline. I mean, don't even get me started on the Freddy was innocent storyline. Like, what the hell? I mean, by the end of the movie, we do learn that Freddy was indeed guilty of his crimes. Shock horror. But the fact that they tried to throw a curveball in this storyline just to try something different drove me mad. Once again, don't fix something that's not broken. I do feel this movie could have had great potential if they'd got maybe a better actress for Nancy and they hadn't messed up Freddy's makeup, toned down the CGI ever so slightly. It could have been a really good remake. I mean, it would never beat the original, but it would have been a lot better. Instead, we got a little bit of a snooze fest film that totally relied on silly jump scares. I did read somewhere that they were hoping to make a sequel to this remake, but it never happened for whatever reason. And I tell you what, I'm not surprised. None of my friends enjoyed this remake. They were all very disappointed, and so was I. This is the final Elm Street movie that we currently have. So this movie essentially killed off the series remake before it even got started. I do actually have a favourite death scene, and it is actually Jesse's death when he ends up in the boiler room with Freddy during a nightmare, and then Freddy plunges his glove right through Jesse's body. Jesse is then hung upside down and he's just dangling there in front of Freddy, and Freddy then says something along the lines of, you know, the brain can keep functioning for like 7 minutes after the heart stops beating, and they now have like 6 more minutes to play. I thought that was a brilliant scene and a brilliant line. It was very dark and quite chilling and disturbing. I just wish we had more of that. I only hope that if they ever do try another Nightmare reboot one day, then they tone down the CGI and they really take their time on any future Elm Street movies. I really miss Freddy Krueger, and I do hope that, you know, one day we can get a fantastic reboot that would make Wes Craven and Robert Englund very proud. So that's all of my thoughts on the movie. Now I want to hear some of your thoughts. Do we have any fans of this remake? If we do, then let me know in the comments box below. If you don't like this remake, then you guys can also get typing and let me know what were the issues for you. I'd be really interested to know. Okay then guys, thank you for watching this video. If you've missed any of my other Elm Street reviews, then there is a playlist on this channel where you can go and binge watch them all. And guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again guys, see you soon.